With Want Leverage Communications, the thought leadership and public relations consultancy. I'm delighted to be here today for another episode of PR Patter and am thrilled to welcome my guest, Patricia Roberts. She is a guiding force in education finance and has spent more than 2 decades advancing her mission to educate and inspire families to have brighter outcomes when it comes to paying for higher education, a concern on the minds of most parents across the U.S. She's Chief Operating Officer at Gift of College, where she supports employers across the U.S. offering 529 college savings, disability savings, and tax-free student loan assistance as financial wellness benefits. What a great benefit that is to have. Prior to this, she held key legal and education savings product roles at premier financial institutions, including Alliance Bernstein Investments, Citi, and Merrill Lynch. And she even helped design and launch philanthropic programs such as the New York City Kids Rise Save for College program. Patricia is the author of Route 529, A Parent's Guide to Saving for College and Career Training with 529 Plans. And she has been featured everywhere in hundreds of news pieces in publications far and wide, such as the New York Times, Barron's, Forbes, U.S. News and World Report, and USA Today, Money, and Newsweek. And she's also appeared on CNBC, ABC News, Good Morning America, and most recently on Farnoosh Torabi's popular podcast, So Money. So I hope you'll listen to that. It's a great interview. Today's topic is thought leadership and brand ambassadorship. And something that you know so much about, Patricia, which is why was delighted to have you on again. You really define authenticity in the way that you speak about 529 saving for college plans. And I'd love to know a little bit, if you would divulge a little bit of your secret sauce to us. How do you do it?
Wow. Well, Julie, first of all, thank you for having me back today. I love following your work. I love following your leadership and your brand ambassadorship. So thank you again. How do I do it? I'm really fortunate to have a role that I absolutely love, that I am so well suited for in so many different ways. My background, my lived experiences, my subject matter expertise, my education, my employment history, all align beautifully with what I now do at Gift of College. And as you said, we bring benefits, 529 college savings, ABLE disability savings, and student loan repayment benefits to employers across the country. How do I do it? A lot of it is me being me. Certainly, leveraging those experiences that I've had, both as a student loan borrower. A little bit about my background. I borrowed tens of thousands of dollars to attend both undergraduate and graduate school as a student from a very low income family that frankly wasn't prepared for the cost at all. So I've had the experience of attaining higher education. I know the value of it. I also know the stress involved in repaying the cost of it. What you also know as a mom yourself, that I'm a mom too. We both have a Ben.
That's right. That's right. Our sons both went to Clark University.
I know, we've got the Clark University connection. But as a mom, I've had the experience of really wanting to do better for my own son, not putting him through the stress that his dad and I had as student loan borrowers. So I saved a little bit at a time. And how did I do it? I did it through the workplace. So when I'm in the workplace, when I'm talking about 529 plans, I can speak from really a very authentic experience of opening that account just around the time I got back from maternity leave, contributing a little at a time to that account, and through the years increasing those contributions as, we paid back our student loans in full as our earnings grew. And also embracing the other aspect of Gift of College is the gift cards. I think we have, Julie, we have gift cards, first of their kind, for these college savings accounts for ABLE.
I've purchased them myself.
I love them. And you pay student loan debt. So, I get to speak from experience, and I think that helps tremendously, really having lived the journey. And on the disability front, you and I may have discussed before, I have a brother with a developmental disability, and I know firsthand the worry involved in his future, his financial future. And until these 529 ABLE, Achieving a Better Life Experience accounts came about 11 years ago, individuals like my brother could not have much money in their own name for fear of losing some of their federal benefits like Medicaid or SSI, or perhaps housing or food assistance. And now he's on a path to financial independence. So I've experienced that firsthand. I know how these accounts work. I've seen how much relief it's offered my brother and my family. I see the sense of pride that he has now with some money in his name that's not going to potentially hurt his benefits, giving him some authority over his own life, his own financial future. And I think all of those experiences together make me a good advocate and role model, really.
And brand ambassador. I mean, you live and breathe this particular product, really.
That's exactly right. And when you spoke to me about discussing brand ambassadorship, I thought, I've never really even thought of myself as a brand ambassador. When you work for a small firm, it's all hands on deck. As the chief operating officer and co-founder, whatever needs to be done gets done. Certainly, we leverage each other's strengths in a small organization, and sometimes you naturally fall into positions that feel right and that you do good work in. But, the brand ambassador role is really a very good one for me, as is the thought leadership, which we may also talk about. But that's not my only role. I am a relationship manager. I have relationships with, the 529 plans who co-brand on our gift cards in particular states.
Sure.
Relationships with the employers who bring us in. I'm a product manager. We've got a product, right? We've got a payroll deduction employee benefit product. We've got a gift card product. All of this needs to be managed with care. But I think the subject matter expertise I have is incredibly helpful to our organization. And I do believe, and thank you for complimenting or commenting on my authenticity, I think that plays an important role for Gift of College and all of the lives I get to touch through my role.
I've worked with a lot of brand ambassadors throughout my career, have hired them for different, product or service campaigns that I've run for clients. And something is going on with this today. And, when you can really live and breathe product features and benefits, and you have actually used the product, you come across in such a real way that audiences automatically connect with you.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. And I have to tell you, when I speak to employers themselves and their employees about 529 college savings plans, about ABLE disability plans, I love seeing the connection that I have with employees. I share a bit. Julie, you talk about the value of storytelling. I share a bit about my background vulnerably, right? About how I came so determined to save for my own son because of my own debt and the stress in repaying it. But I really do feel I connect with employees. I see those light bulbs going off. I see a higher level of confidence, whether we're in person or we're on a Zoom onboarding meeting or informational call, people understanding for the first time and believing a little bit more that something is possible because they've got somebody in front of them that has lived it. And I will tell you, particularly on the ABLE plan, the disability related benefits, I've seen tears in people's eyes, and they've contacted me offline as well to talk about the fact that it was suddenly a relief to hear about something of which they were previously unaware that they can now potentially
Awesome.
leverage for themselves or for a loved one. And that makes my job so rewarding that I've brought information. We're on a mission at Gift of College to raise awareness of the existence and usefulness of these plans. And having done it and having seen the impact on people or heard from people that they now know something, they're now going to start saving as a result. They are less fearful, or some confusion has been cleared up, really makes me so proud. I really, really do love this work.
So, it's so obvious in the way you speak about it, and the way you emote, when you talk about it. But I really think that that's what makes you such a marvelous brand ambassador, because you have lived it, and you really can speak about all the features and benefits and attributes of the 529 savings plan. What's the difference between a brand ambassador and a thought leader? I thought we should talk about that a little bit, because I usually think of a thought leader as someone who speaks very high level on industry trends and has their own opinions and insights on things. There's a lot of crossover between the two, obviously, but would just love to get your insights on how you've become a thought leader. And I mean, you were telling me earlier that you did an SEO search for yourself and you came up first, which is so phenomenal, right? That's something we all strive for.
Yeah, yeah. And I was on a call with an individual named Laura Morlando. She is the stress commando. And we were talking about some of these SEO, GEO, topics. And we looked together while on the call to see, I forget what was the query. I don't know, a voice for 529, or what are some of the leading voices. And it was just thrilling to see that. Regardless, what are the attributes and where do they align and differ between thought leaders and brand ambassadors? I think of thought leaders as you said, looking at a higher level, looking perhaps at a vertical or an industry or a category more broadly, the brand ambassador looking more carefully, closely at their own brand, perhaps within that category. I think thought leaders need to be, and I think a lot of this overlaps and dovetails beautifully, thought leaders need to be subject matter experts. They need to be deep in the details, I feel, and I feel that's what's made me successful, if you want to refer to me as a thought leader.
Yeah.
I do believe that deep subject matter expertise matters, but that careful focus on something narrow, meaning within a broad industry, is important, but so is the ability to keep your eyes wide open when you're a thought leader. So you need to really know your subject, but you really need to know what's going on around you. A SWOT analysis, right? What are the
Absolutely.
weaknesses, opportunities, threats? You can't be so narrowly focused, so expert that you don't know what's going on around you. You must know what's going on around you.
Including all the challenges that come up around your particular product or service that you're talking about.
That's right. So you need to be able to see the big picture and the smallest of details. I think thought leaders need to be courageous. I think they need to ask challenging questions of themselves and others.
Yeah.
I think they need to be less self-serving and more interested in the good of the whole. I think a brand ambassador is obviously and naturally focused on their brand, but as a thought leader, you're thinking a little bit more broadly. You're asking those hard questions. You're listening sometimes more than talking. And you really, I don't know that people necessarily refer to you as a thought leader, but you know one when you see one, right? You know someone who's leading the way, taking a position, maybe an unpopular position in an area of interest to them. In terms of the brand ambassador, that person is embodying the brand, as we talked about. They're representing it well. They're well aligned with it. They're interested in promoting it, of course, right? And they'd almost do the work. I almost think of brand ambassadors, as we've begun talking about this, as people who probably do the work even if they weren't getting paid, because they're walking the talk.
Right.
I think within both of those categories, brand ambassadorship and thought leadership, I think what's common is you need very, very clear communication. You need to be able to make the complex understandable. You need to be a relationship builder. As a thought leader, it is absolutely essential to collaborate with others, other stakeholders, even competitors, people who, share some interests, but not all. And I think as a brand ambassador, you also need to be good at relationships, right? Because you're talking to the public, right?
Yeah.
You're meeting with others, you're meeting maybe perhaps even with the press. So authenticity, I think, is critical. I think the ability to communicate, certainly being credible in both instances is absolutely essential. I think we have an authenticity crisis or a trust crisis, whatever people are calling it these days. But I think
we do.
People need to know who you are and where you stand. And I think that's very important. So even though as a brand ambassador, you're focusing a little more narrowly and self-servingly on your brand, on your product, on your service, you definitely are also someone who is seen as authentic and honest in whatever you're communicating.
Yeah, and have a certain amount of transparency.
Absolutely.
I think. I mean, the way you tell your personal story is like, oh, it just connects instantly with the audience. How do you work with the media, Patricia? You've been on so many TV shows and quoted in so many publications as a thought leader. What is your tips for working with the press?
Yeah. Well, first of all, with our small organization at Gift of College, we don't have any PR, public relations representation. We don't have a marketing team. We don't have anybody doing any of this for us. I think writing my book, Route 529, which you so kindly showed earlier, really opens
I'll show it again.
Yeah, show it again. I love that book. I think writing that during the pandemic was an exercise of thought leadership. Others were baking sourdough bread. Others were exploring hobbies.
You were writing away.
I was writing a kind of, narrowly focused, maybe even a little bit nerdy book about saving for college and making people's journeys a little bit easier. And I think that was a real demonstration, if we want to think of it that way, as thought leadership. That book itself, not that I know anything more since writing it, but when you have something in addition to your title, in addition to maybe your experiences to share, being an author of a book really does seem to be of interest to the media.
It boosts your credibility for sure.
It's one more credibility marker.
Yeah.
So how do I work with the media? Whenever I have an opportunity and I feel I can be helpful, I often get calls where I feel like, no, someone else would be more appropriate. I'm not taking that one. Where I feel I can add value, where I feel I understand the audience and what they may need to hear or understand themselves, I take those opportunities. And I'm always leading with service, never sales, right? You know this, Julie. You're not selling anything.
You can't. Otherwise, you absolutely destroy your credibility as a spokesperson.
Absolutely. So never leading with any sort of product or service. Those topics come up naturally sometimes. And when they do, certainly don't avoid them. If a reporter is interested in knowing what is it Gift of College is doing with employers, or what is it that these gift cards can do, that topic will come up, but I'm never, ever leading with it. I'm also being very accessible to the media. People are on tight deadlines. People forget to call you back. People want to know, can we do a Zoom or phone call instead of an email? Whatever it is, if I can accommodate it, I do. And the other thing I do is I make certain that I share, I amplify whatever piece I've been quoted in to whatever extent. I read the article carefully. If there's ever an error that I see, that something's been misunderstood, I do reach back out. Oftentimes a reporter needs to check with their editor, or they need to consider how material that is. But I'm never nitpicky, but if something's not right, I want to be sure, because of the reporter's credibility, to let them know, no, that's not exactly what that means, or you could say it slightly differently. So I certainly do a check on the content to see that it aligns well with.
That also positions you as a partner.
Yes,
And I
yes.
think that relationship is so critical in being a credible thought leader.
I think that's right. And then the thing I always do is amplify whatever the piece is to the extent I can, and I always do. Share it broadly. People, journalists like to see the work that they've done, really benefiting people. And if you are quoted in an article and you can share it, and you can share it broadly, I think it helps that individual. And then the other thing I do is always make certain that they know I'm available in the future again, should there be a need, and try to develop a little bit of a relationship, and to not be pitching, but mostly just to be reactive when something is needed. I don't have a tremendous amount of time to be thinking of pitch ideas and going out,
Right.
but rather reacting when people need something. So
You're so wonderful on LinkedIn, where supporting journalists and other podcast hosts by commenting on their posts, by sharing whenever you appear on a broadcast or in a publication, by sharing that on your LinkedIn.
yeah, I do it. And I love to see, even if I'm not involved, what are other people doing? What do I like? And how can I support? You and I talked about that, particularly with other women. Whatever it is they're doing, whether it's my friend who's a concert pianist about to perform at Carnegie Hall, or it's somebody like you doing your thought leadership work on LinkedIn, or it's, many other people, if I can just take a moment and either comment or like or share or refer, right, people to others,
Sure.
I think that's incredibly valuable. That's part of my, I would say, personal brand. And to be sure to not only be interested in what I'm doing and what I'm asked to do, but to show interest and be truly interested in what others are doing and how they're benefiting their audiences. Because I think that's very important.
What can you share a few examples of sort of your proudest moments of serving as a thought leader or a brand ambassador?
Okay, proudest moments. I would say certainly writing that book that we talked about was a proud moment once that was done, and seeing the impact of it, hearing from people that they got started because they read it or they understood something that they didn't know, makes me really happy. What else am I proud of? I'm proud of a lot of the industry work I've done with others through the years. Many, many others have worked so hard in our own ways. We've contributed towards making these 529 plans even better. Now they can be used, I think you saw through HR1, the Tax Reconciliation Bill of 2025, July 2025. These accounts can be used now for so many other forms of education, post-secondary, beyond college. So, trade and technical school, also forms of certifications, certificates, licenses, things that are non-degree, but very important course training. And I love that. And whatever contribution I have made to that, together within so many others, that makes me proud that we continue to improve what we're offering. I also think on a personal level, I'm so proud of the outcomes in my life, seeing that son of mine graduate debt-free, and my brother, very important. And then the work I've done with organizations like New York City Kids Rise, helping them to design and launch that wonderful Safer College program. Hundreds of thousands of elementary school students now have seed money for college. So all of that gives me tremendous pride, and even the smallest of impacts, when I've spoken to someone and they've told me something about their life and how it's now a little bit different because of something they heard me say.
Yeah, isn't that's fantastic?
It's so good. I mean, it's not even just the big stuff. It's all of it. And it's not just me. It's me and so many others contributing in so many different ways. There are so many people focused on 529, focused on the disability side. Every state except Wyoming has a 529 plan. There are many, many qualified, capable people, talking about a lot of the same things I am. And I'm happy to partner with them, support what they're doing, and just feel really good about it. I feel so lucky. I can't even tell you. It's such a perfect role and such an enjoyable thing to be doing.
You can tell. I can tell. You're such an expert at telling your brand story across communications platforms. And I want to thank you for being here with me today, even though we had some technical issues for talking about these subjects, because they really help to elevate companies and brands. When you have a brand ambassador, when you have real thought leadership that you could share, it really elevates you in your industry.
That's so true. And there are tremendous thought leaders out there. I follow some of them and I love seeing what others are doing. There's a woman at Crunch Fitness. I think she's their chief human resources officer, Pamela Brown. I've been following. She's doing great work talking about human resource issues and tying her journey to health improvement through fitness to Crunch. I love seeing what others are doing. There's so many great examples and you're wonderful to be magnifying them. So
Right.
thank you so much. I'm so happy to talk to you again.
That's wonderful. Thanks again, Patricia. And if you like what you saw today, please go to my website and download at wantleverage.com and unlock 5 hidden LinkedIn strategies that PR firms swear by. I'll see you again next time on PR Patter.